have good old Mech Warrior up against the Paladin from Trump here.
I'm really excited for this deck because I haven't seen anything on it yet, so I want to see what it's capable of. Does it run the Warbot? Is that a card he's using? The Warrior class card for the mechs. Does he run that?
I think so. I mean, this deck has actually. I feel like it's been relatively the same, but I always feel like I learned something new. You know, Pilot Sky. Like when I first saw him win with it, it was like I didn't even see Pilot Sky Golem. The next week I saw it, and then he crushed somebody while having Pilot Sky Golem, like, you know, just continue to push damage to the face. Just look at this board. Actually, I think this game is almost already. There's no consecration. There's actually no way to even get past his Annoyatron. And he's going to be taking upwards to 11 to 13 damage every turn because there's second Annoyatron ready to go. Like, I think Trump's ready to concede.
Yeah, that's too. Is that like what you need equality consecrate to deal with that board, but it's too early in the game. It's like turn 3, and he's got all of that. Look at Lifecoach looks really happy with that win. I guess he would be. I mean, that's almost like a repeat of our first game when we had everywhere in work on their lunch break. Even when they go to the bathroom, it's just it's great how Blizzard has made the game so accessible. But I guess it's a bit of a curse as well if it steals a lot of your time because it's so easily accessible. But looking at this, Lifecoach and Trump are going to be playing a Paladin Mirror, and see that mind control tech again that we saw from the weekend. He seems to favor that card a lot. Nice little tech card there for Lifecoach, and Trump's hand's looking a little bit clunk. I mean, you might want to keep onto the Harrison Jones. It's a very nice weapon removal, can really help with tempo because the Paladin relies on that True Silver Champion so much for its removal. So, but he decides to throw it away and just try and get a nice early curve.
The curve is so important. There's usually one player that's following the curve, another person responding to it. Personally, I really like going first in most of these kinds of mirrors. I love going first, especially in Paladin versus Paladin, because you hit the Quartermaster that much quicker. You hit the Shielded Minibot quicker, assuming your opponent doesn't have the coin to leverage those things. If they muster for battle versus muster for battle, then, you know, the person that goes first and whacks the minions gets the advantage. Now, on the flip side of it is always the knife jugglers. Like, can you leverage that? Are you taking too much damage in response? These type of things gives Lifecoach a really sharp advantage as he starts developing his board here.
Do you think we're going to see a coin consecrate here? Or just a shredder? Okay, he plays a bit more patient. Yeah. I mean, maybe he wants him to commit more to the board yet. There's no Quartermaster coming just yet, so next turn we might see a consecrate depending on what comes down here. Because he doesn't have the equality.
I guess you Peacekeeper then, right? There's really nothing. I mean, you just want to develop the 3/3 on the board, reduce that impact of the Pilot Shredder. Although the Pilot Shredder would start chopping away at the 1/1s because you'd be on Quartermaster turns. The only other way to deal with this is to play the Owl, but that's such a weak use of it. There's Tyrion in the hand of Trump, and that will end up becoming one of those big factors. So I think I'm okay with dropping just a Peacekeeper here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Peacekeeper is definitely the best play here because it minimizes the power on the board as well for Trump, and he's behind again then.
I mean, that's if you want to play tempo. If you want to play it slow, because Lifecoach is playing grindy. I'm sure he's playing Kael'thas and whatnot. He could also opt to go for Acolyte of Pain after he kills off this Pilot Shredder. And if it's like a 2 attack or less, you can just simply drop that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
so Acolyte of Pain it's more consistent with how Lifecoach has played his deck because he has such like late game cards that he can take his time.
Well, True Silver's gonna go on that. You don't want him. You don't want Lifecoach throwing anything really if you can avoid it because, like you said, he just grinds the game out, gets loads of excellent options, and he just outvalues you with his options. And I assume that Trump's gonna probably be playing more of a mid-rangey Paladin, whereas Lifecoach will play that more control-orientated Paladin. And we did see 2 equalities in one of his decks before, so. If you see 2 equalities packed in a Paladin, you most likely assume it's control because you don't have the room in mid Paladin for it.
The 2 equalities always just feels clunky, man. I used to really believe that equalities were so core to Paladin, but now it's like I'm not exactly sure anymore, man. I think like having two equalities, if you have them stuck in your hand, it's like having two Leon hands, or it's like when do you get a chance to use both of them effectively without hoping that's another card? Not to mention that Paladin's gotten so good at tempo that equality is not really needed sometimes to do damage onto the board. The quartermasters and everything else is sometimes adequate. Lifecoach again stuck in a pretty interesting spot where he could develop something to just get board presence, or he can take it slow. Big Game Hunter comes down just because there's really nothing else, and he starts to contest almost everything else that comes out here, like Sludge Belcher. He just doesn't want to like preemptively set up a Chew Silver. It's off curve. Perfect Harrison. Definitely agree with this.
Another thing to consider as well, Lifecoach is known to run 2 BGHs in his decks. It's not uncommon, so he could be packing another one. He could, and the thing with Paladin, unless you're putting some interesting things in like Rag or whatever, it's only Dr. Boom it's going to hit. So maybe he's not that. Maybe he values this early game more over, say, sniping a Dr. Boom later. But we see a Pharoson drop straight after the Consecrate, so Trump might have a bit of an issue dealing with this unless he gets some lucky knives.
Yeah, man. Now his opponent was able to grab the first Thorzen, and there's still even a way to properly deal with it other than trying to get this juggle or silencing it. And even then, both options are still not exactly the most guaranteed thing.
And you don't want to give him a 5/5 regardless.
Oh, misses. That's
here we
really
go.
rough.
Oh, he misses again. He needs Ardu's like with Knife Juggler. Like Ardu had some incredible knife juggling this weekend. Maybe Trump should take a page from his book.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess this is an opportunity to use Consecration. Is it? But do you have to? I mean, it's an easy dunk on these 3 minions on board, and you can develop Knife Juggler and Hero Power. Just one of those things where you always have to consider how much you can leverage that in the future. Like if he had a Knife Juggler and he used the juggle preemptively, he'd almost be able to guarantee clear board with just that plus the Light's Justice. So it's always worth evaluating, I think. In this scenario, though, I think Lifecoach just wants to keep his health high on the Thorzen out of True Silver range and just keep putting on pressure, because the big thing now is not, again, it's not necessarily that Thorzen's reducing cost. It's that it's a 5/5 body, a really big deal.
And it's already had 2 attacks so far, and he still hasn't been able to deal with it. I think the Consecrate was good there because it was just, like I said, a cheap way to get rid of all the minions, develop more of a board yourself, and this Phoroson's just going to keep hitting away. I mean, he's had to silence it and Alder it, I imagine. That's going to follow. Yeah, so silence and Alder 1 card. That's a lot of cards just to deal with a guy you haven't even taken off the board yet.
Yeah, I guess so. The Aldor is his best answer to it for now. Lay on Hands comes in the hand, though. That's really good for Lifecoach. That way he can keep up the steam and keep up the pressure in terms of winning the actual control match. The alternative is to use True Silver and just start hero powering. That's also pretty good too, because that way he has True Silver set up for whatever happens next turn. And then he can lay on hands. So I think developing the True Silver is really impactful. The only awkward thing is that True Silver is supposed to cost 4, Hero Power is supposed to cost 2, and you're not supposed to be left over with this much mana to play another card. Thorzen definitely tempts you to overcommit to the board sometimes because everything's so cheap.
Oh, he silences. So Thorzen gets another 5/5 attack in. Do you think we're going to see a
That is
Tyrion
really
now?
cute, man.
I think we'll see a Harrison here just to get him. I don't know. I don't know if he can. I think he might have to just Tyrion here. But it's a good play,
Well,
though.
just use silence.
Yeah, it's a good play, though, because he's on 12 health. I mean, one of the things Paladin really struggles with sometimes is closing out a win because of the lack of damage, but he's developed such a strong board here. I think that was a really good idea for him.
Right. But this is lethal anyways. A really good job here from Lifecoach to figure out every possibility and cornering Trump. And of course, Trump got bullied from the start. He went second, which is already a disfavorable position, or unfavorable position rather. And From there, handlock though, it's not as we originally anticipated, but it's not so surprising considering that Trump was streaming handlock as recently as yesterday.
This could play to Trump's advantage here if he can get some big taunts down, get a big ball, which handlock can develop quite easily when they're on low health or they get good tempo. And it very much comes down to Lifecoach having burst available when he needs it, because fireballs and frostbolts play a big part, not only controlling the board but sometimes finishing off, say, a handlock, because the anti-kill bots and such just swing things in the handlock's favor so much. So I think Lifecoach is going to need a really good early board and the burst to follow up, or he might not win this one.
Yeah, the big problem too is like a mirror entity really disincentivizing a turn 4 play, which normally a turn 4 minion play, which could really swing and affect the way Trump will want to play his minions. You know, of course, that's where you drop an Ancient Watcher and you give an Ancient Watch to your opponent, and he can't really leverage that unless he has a Rusty Horn with Taunt. Now, Lifecoach, interesting spot. Still think that Mad Scientist is the better, but his opponent did pass on turn 1, and it's worth evaluating if it's a handlock, he can sort of take time because his hand's not that great. He might need that coin. But if it's a zoo, then you'd still want to take advantage of him potentially missing a turn 1 play. A pass on turn 1 when your opponent doesn't have the coin, though, still doesn't necessarily mean that he's handlocked. So you have to be really cautious to weigh both options.
Yeah, I think it was good to play patient there. Maybe he had known that Trump was playing handlock a lot, and he predicted that and decided to utilize this coin a little bit later. But yeah, having that Ancient Watcher, if he manages to keep hold of that, it will make those mirror entities less effective, and that Owl will as well. So Trump already has 2 things in his hand to make mirror entities a lot less effective.
Man, Mech Warper off the top here just to fill up the board a little bit. There is Hellfire, but the most important thing is that there is no mirror entity, so it's an opportunity to drop the Drake now before Life could get that down. So looks like even if mirror entity does come into play, though, there is that Zombie Chow, and that could be a huge factor considering that Trump can get his opponent to copy that, then he can remove it and gain some health back even, which would be really crucial considering his opponent does have cards like Antonitis and a lot of ways to burn his opponent.
Yeah, we're not going to see this. This Zombie Chow is most certainly going to be used for that reason. And the health gain is going to be big as well because it puts the Mech Mage out of reach even more than it would be with, say, anti-kill bots and Spelchers and lots of taunts going down on the field. So drawing this card right now, already for mirror entities is pretty huge, I think, for this match.
Well, I really like developing the Pilot Sky Golem and just whacking the face. I guess he is afraid of Shadow Flame, though. Shadow Flame would absolutely destroy him, considering that he could play Zombie Chow right afterwards, too. Oh, right before it, too. So it's, like, worth evaluating, but I think the value on the Sky Golem is so high. The fact that 4 bodies that pop out on average is so useful to keep pressuring the handlock here.
He actually goes to get the mirror entity on the field now, so Trump is probably going to play the Zombie Chair now, but he needs to figure out how else he wants to utilize his mana, because he could follow it with a Defender of Argus as well, which could give him a bit of protection from this 6/4. And the Drake's health is so high already, so it's going to take a few things to punch through it, maybe a Frostbolt or a Fireball. And if you see a Frostbolt or Fireball flying on a minion, that's one less burst option the Mage is going to have later, so the handlock would be pretty happy with that.
Well, this is still a really big win in Trump's book, having that Zombie Chow. Now, the question is, how do you proceed from here? Do you just Hellfire and let your opponent deal with the possibility of frostbolting down the Drake? I guess he does go for it. The nice thing is he does have Mortal Coil and a Silence to deal with that. Okay, Lifecoach has a couple of lines here, too. He can deal with the Drake and then put out a 3-mana card. So what can your opponent really do on turn? I guess Mirror Entity still is kind of weak because of the possibility of an Ancient Watcher. He already played Zombie Chalice. So I guess you'd rather have the guarantee of having a mech on board, because if you play the Spider Tank, the next turn he might deal with your Piloted Sky Golem. You won't necessarily get the benefits of the Goblin Blast Mage Battle Cry. So I think a Spider Tank is justified. It's just that Mirror Entity always can mess up your plans a lot, and it's always nice to have that developed.
Yeah, he's probably considering now he's seen the zombie chair. Does he have anything else? I mean, like you said, a Watcher is something to consider, an Owl is another thing to consider. I think definitely the Frostbolt and the Spider Tank. That's probably the best line to play here. Clears up the board, keeps your 6-1 alive, and then you throw Trump in a situation where he has to react. But he just goes for the Blast Mage. Does he?
No.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah, it is, because now it's like, Mortal Coil Shadow Flame could most likely destroy it, or he can just pretty much clear the board with however he wants to deal with it. It's like one of these scenarios where he went for a risky play and it didn't pay off. Uh-oh. And I feel like this is an opportunity for Trump to really start marching back. He can play Giants next turn. He has Jiraxis, so he's got heal. Lifecoach is playing uncharacteristically quick, but I think he was definitely not happy and maybe even slightly flustered by what happened there with the Goblin Blast Mage.
Yeah, do you think you just play the Belcher here, maybe tap, draw some more options? I mean, you can develop the Giant as well. The Giant's fine. And tap. So yeah, I think Lifecoach is pretty steady here, but I think the risk of, say, maybe tapping is that burst potential that Mech Mage can throw out, and we do see a Fireball on Frostbolt in Lifecoach's hand, so he's going to be thinking about knocking him down here. So he takes him down to 11. So he's just going all in here. So he is 100% committing to the Fireball and Frostbolt kill on the next turn, by the looks of it. I mean, anti-Keelbot would definitely swing thing in Trump's favor, but at this point, Lifecoach needs to go for the win, I think.
Yeah, I suppose that the way this Mirror Entity would work is that you're expecting your opponent to play a Defender of Argus. So if you're expecting Defender, you're be getting a 2-mana or 2/3. Might be still better just to ping, so that way you have Frostbolt, Fireball, and ping.
Yeah,
There's
like
no
you
life
said.
gain in Trump's hand.
Yeah, the Argus here and the Mirror Entity wouldn't have been great. It's not a very high value target for that spell. And like you said, there's no life gain. He's one turn off Jiraxis as well, which is a bit of a shame for him. I think Trump's probably considering, if you ping face like that, I think you're telegraphing that you could potentially have burst ready to follow up next turn. So does he tap? Do you think you tap here for the anti-Keelbot to try and survive, or?
If I was Trump, I'd taunt up, and then I'd Shadow Flame the Watcher. I would play Defender of Argus, let him copy it, Shadow Flame the Watcher, attack the face with Sylvanas. And of course develop the Molten Giant. It seems to be your best course of action. You deal with the board. Is he going to go for some fancy play of Dark Sylvanas or something? I don't know. At this stage, we know that Trump's in really bad business here. Oh, excuse me. I thought the Mirror Entity was in play. Well, this also is okay, but we know that this means it's certain death. Lifecoach is going to steamroll Trump 3-0 with 2 mech deck, a Paladin that out-tempoed him. Have to feel a little bit bad for Trump, even though it seemed like he took some really bad, nasty beats. Lifecoach just sometimes had an unstoppable hand, and